Hi, I'm Matt from HockeyReviews.ca, and this is the CCM EFlex 7 catching glove review. So this is a 580. It's a game ready, which is obviously not normally my specs, but this all came about because I was speaking negatively about CCM pad seal, and I experienced it a lot on the 6, and I noticed some NHL goalies on the 7 having it. And CCM reached out and said, nope, our stuff is better. You have to see the new line. They graciously got me this demo set to use and test out. And this is the glove from that set. So I also have the pads and the blocker, which will be reviewed as well. Probably already seen the gameplay footage from it, from me using it, but this wouldn't have happened without CCM's help for that. So huge thanks you to them on that. If you remember my EFlex 6 catching glove, which was a 581 and not a 580, and it was supposed to be a Pro Palm, it was, just to be honest, the worst catching glove I have ever used, and there was a lot I didn't like on it. CCM doesn't have a 581 as an option anymore in their customizer for the EFlex 7. There's still a 591 on the Axis one. We'll see what happens with the tax. This is their new version, and this has been changed slightly from other 580s I've used in the past. So I'm going to go through all of this and talk about my usage of this and see how it is. I've been, like I said, very critical of the EFlex 6 line, and CCM has made a ton of changes on 7 to, I'm not going to say address my concerns, but to address things that people didn't like. This is a totally different glove. So for aesthetics on this, I am going to talk about it the same on the pads and the blocker. So if you've seen that part of the video already from one of those reviews, just skip over this section because it will be the same, and that way you don't have to watch the same thing over again. CCM is still doing the same thing that they've done over and over, which I've always hated and been critical on, and it's where the glove ends up matching the rest of the set. So when you do the blocker or pads and you do match rest of set to this, you end up getting the opposite on the glove for all intents and purposes. When you do the outer roll of the pads and the outside of the blocker here, the glove that gets filled out for that spot is right here. So the logo ends up matching what the logo is on the blocker, which makes sense in that sense, but it doesn't make sense on where the glove actually is in your stance. As you can see on these overlays, it doesn't match whatsoever in terms of like the black tip on this Washington design being on the inside top tip. It ends up being on the far outside of the catching glove, and it doesn't match when you're in your stance. It doesn't match when you're in your butterfly. It just doesn't match. Now, I get gloves are a bit harder to match with that, but this one, it just feels like it's the exact opposite of everything you kind of do everywhere else on it, and it's been like that for a while for CCM. Now, for the design itself, it's fine. I haven't been a huge fan of designs like this in CCM in the past because they really do force you into one direction of design, and that's it. There is no splits on it. So what I mean by this is when, obviously this is a white block for this example, but every single piece of graphic has to go this way. There's nothing that breaks it up this way at all. There's nothing where you can combine them. So if I had like a thing down here, you could end up combining them and doing that if you wanted to. Everything goes in that direction. I liked the 5 because the 5 had a piece down here where you could basically split it if you wanted to, or you could make it match up. And then it had one piece in the middle that went all the way through. This has, as you can see, everything going across, and you can't split it. This graphic also reminds me a lot of the EFlex 4 graphic, which isn't a terrible thing. There were some pretty interesting and solid, I think, EFlex 4 designs with these like little teeth pieces in there. But this time, at least, that inner piece is clean. It's not broken up by little pieces of Gen Pro, which I think is a big improvement. Now, one thing that I am not a fan of on these overall is these little accent pieces. So you can see these little lines, and that's like a printed graphic piece over top. I still don't know why CCM is really doing this. They showed it off for a while, and then it took generations to actually get the printed graphic. I think this came out on the 4s, and then the printed graphics came like 3 generations later-ish. But I don't know exactly the point of having these. It kind of, I guess, looks interesting from all the puck marks. Doesn't really add anything to it. Maybe someone likes it. Before, you could at least choose those colors. With this one, you can't choose that color anymore. So I think on the Axis, you could choose the fade. You can see it also on the pads, but this one, it just has that weird detailing on it, and that is it. So it doesn't really do anything, and it's not a horrible thing. On the blocker and on the glove as well, you can see right here, it does kind of give an interesting effect of where that colors are going and puck marks are going. Now, speaking of puck marks, though, one thing on this that I've noticed, and actually had another YouTuber notice who does the thin red line, puck marks on this thing are massive. You can see how thick these are, though. Same with the pads. Every basically puck mark on this becomes a huge mark on the actual gear itself. Glove, you can kind of see it here, and I haven't had that on any of my gear look like this. We don't know why, and it just seems very evident on this that every puck that hits it leaves a huge mark of rubber behind. These pads were brand new when I got them, and all these marks are from me. The marks like this are just crazy. Anything that hits it like solidly on, or even like right there, massive puck mark. Same with the inside. I had a couple pucks sit on this, and this whole part was there. I ended up rubbing it off while playing. So weird that that is the case. It's it's not like I'm using special pucks. This was from my puck machine as well as actual just on ice, which aren't my puck. Maybe they're using a different material on it. It doesn't really feel all that different from previous Gen Pro, and the Gen Pro honestly doesn't feel that bad anymore. Before, I felt like their stuff felt more plasticky. This part right here doesn't feel all that soft, but this part here feels okay. Now, it is a different color on the backing than some companies do, so you can see, like, when you look at True and Brian's, I think this is like a gray on the back. This is white, so it is slightly different material, but something is different on here, which is making the puck mark show up a lot. Now, one little part that I really do like about this, and this is really evident in the washing set I did, is this piece of graphic comes all the way out here. So this always matches. I love that. It follows the line perfectly. Small attention to detail for that graphic, but that looks so cool when you do that, and I think it's just a really nice piece on that graphic. Overall, it's fine. This wash-in set that I made up here is my favorite graphic I was able to do, and there's just a few things I would like different on it, though I really do wish they did something to break up the line so it wasn't always just one direction all the time. I've always been critical about Warrior doing that. To me, when Warrior did it, it almost felt like they're cheaping out on things because they don't want to do all the cuts and all, like, they want to be really efficient with Gen Pro usage. For CCM, I'm not sure the reason behind it because they do have these big cutouts in the middle of it, which is you're cutting that out, so it's kind of wasting Gen Pro. But at the same time, it's okay. I just think it could be a lot better than what it is, and they could just allow some more creativity. But they do have their total custom option now, so you can do printed graphics on it and get some cooler graphics that you want on it. So that is a nice option there. In the summer months when I'm golfing out in the heat, I had issues with dehydration where basically the whole day was a write-off because I would have a massive headache after playing golf. I would have massive cramping issues when I was playing 3 times a night for hockey. No matter what I did, no matter how much water I drank, I would drink like 3 liters of water. I would always have cramping in the middle of the night. It would wake me up. Then I found electrolyte drinks and I found Siip. And Siip has multiple different flavors, which you can see 3 of them right here. There's also a peach one in here that comes with the sample pack that kind of tastes like fuzzy peaches if you use more of a water compared to powder mixture. This is a fantastic drink to help with hydration with their electrolytes and sodium. And the big reason why I wanted to try Siip and use Siip is because how much is actually in this for the sodium levels as well as the potassium and magnesium levels compared to those other drinks. I use it all the time. This is my second package of this stuff. I wanted to use it first to make sure I really liked it, and it is honestly pretty delicious. You really have to take special care in terms of how much powder you use to liquid form. When you use more powder, it becomes very salty. So you want to get it at the perfect level for you. And just to show off how much actually comes in one of these packets, me pouring it into that original glass, I filled up this entire container with that water, put more water in it. Finally, it is now dissolved and it's enough. So this pack ends up being good enough for 2 of those normal water bottles for hockey and can do like 1.5 of these. So I have a coupon code with Siip to help you save some money on Siip as well as support the channel. So I get a kickback and keep making more content and doing more reviews. And that way you also get the drink that has saved me from cramping and headaches in extreme heat. For the overall design of this glove, and we look at front of it, and one thing that is different on this glove than some other 580s now, specifically like True, it doesn't have the piece in the middle, the binding through the face and that nylon cord. Generally, it's to hold the 2 different parts together. It's not here on this one. This is all just flattened out, but this does have the cords through the face, unlike the 581. So this is a more traditional in that sense, where the 581 hit all that and changed the overall like design on that considerably. When you look at this, it looks like a very 580 design, which I think is good. People like 580s now. They absolutely love it. Social media has gone crazy. People love 580s and everyone talks about it all the time. I'm not one of those people, but this glove looks like a 580 that you'd expect. But there definitely are changes on this. This glove was basically a clone of a CCM glove designed by Lefebvre at the time, 580. And you can see that there is a slight shape difference to these and things have changed over time. One big difference on here, and it's kind of, I think, very interesting to see, is this cuff ends up looking a lot bigger than what is on here. This looks so much flatter and it just feels like this is totally flat facing the shooter. And then at the thumb, it aggressively comes into this pocket. Whereas for this CCM, you can see it's not just flat out to the shooter anymore. It does feel like it is kind of coming into the palm and it's more of a slope into the actual palm and thumb. So this part doesn't feel like it's out and in. It feels like it's just more gradually coming into it. And even when I'm looking at these, this part on the white one here looks like it is smaller than what is on here. But when you line them up, they end up being basically the same and very slight differences. But the thing that really feels like there is some changes here, and maybe I'm just full of it and it's not a thing, you can see how those are pretty much the same. It really does feel like a lot of this is more glove. This is all wrist guard piece right here, and then this is glove, whereas this feels like all of this is wrist guard and then glove. This feels, specifically in this palm right here, to be a lot more catching area and catching palm. and it feels, I honestly, pretty good. When I put these two on, they have the normal closure, you have that T closure that you expect and everything, and it feels fine. But when I put this one on, it just feels like there's a lot more of this coming with you and moving with you. And honestly, it feels very good. So while the shape is that normal 580 shape, I'm actually very impressed with how this glove closes and how it actually compares to what I've used in the past. I don't love 580s. It's not my glove preference. I'm a 600 guy, and I understand the reason 590s exists as well. This glove, pretty great to use, and I'm a huge fan of the changes on it because it feels like a more traditional glove, but with some slight changes and improvements. And honestly, like when I'm just looking at this and using it, it feels solid. And yes, it has that shape that I don't totally love where the pocket's over here and it's like on an angle. It's just not my preference. It worked for me, and I think these are some small changes on this glove that have actually made a pretty solid difference. And like I said, pretty big fan of it for that. Another huge part of this glove and this cuff, they added the plastics back into this cuff. So my big problem with the 581 is there was no plastics in here. I could bend this cuff backwards. So this is thicker like the older ones were. It does have that plastic in the cuff right here. You can feel it right there. Whereas the old one, remove that plastic piece and I could bend this inwards like I showed in my videos previously. And the difference on that as well, all this plastic now has the weight of this glove balanced back here more. Before, because the weight was gone from here, and even if it was a lighter weight glove, all the actual weight of the previous 581 felt like it was on the T and the fingers. So it felt very finger heavy and it just wore out my arm really quick. I often have nights where I play at least 2 times a night. Back-to-backs often for goalies. Often I play 3 times a night. I don't really generally have a stamina issue in terms of my arms get tired. Yes, you get tired after things, but that EFlex 6 and the 581 was the first glove I ever used where I could physically feel my arm being exhausted from holding it up and from using it. And it was basically the balance of the glove itself. This really pulls the weight back here, back on your actual arm and not your hand. And it feels excellent to use. And I had 0 problems with this on back-to-backs, and it was fantastic. It's huge improvements on this cuff. I love that they went back to this. This does make a difference. I've seen this on video of me using it. It was with the PGS glove where a puck did hit the cuff. Actually, I think it was down here, but hit the cuff. You could see the cuff flex and the puck went through it. Even with this, pucks are still flexing on this with this. Like this is still going to flex back with pucks. You want it to be as stiff as possible. The plastic is helping with that. Removing it was, I think, a mistake. They totally remedied that and totally fixed. Great job, CCM, on that. The backhand is also very new, and honestly, it looks awful. I think this looks absolutely terrible. I think it looks kind of cheap, and I think it just doesn't look like it should work really well, and it works very well. I only really have one real issue with this backhand, but everything on here fits nice. You can see how it plays like that accordion. It covers everything. There's no big gaps. This little attachment piece here as well, you can do it tighter if you want. It doesn't even need to flex, you can see, but you can also do it looser so it does move a bit more, and this backhand moves more. The backhand is also attached with elastic here so it moves with it. This just works so well. Now, I think it looks weird. It kind of, to me, when I wear this, reminds me of me wearing an oven mitt just because of how this is all flappy and fitting out, but it works really well and it doesn't really leave gaps, and it is overall solid with 0 complaints on it, and it just looks awkward to me. Now, looks like that, if it is functional, doesn't matter whatsoever to me, so I am totally happy with that. Now, with that said, when we open this is where we do get one of the complaints I have. This part, because it is attached here, you can't really open this up all that much to like air it out. So it generally airs out like this. You can kind of pull this. It wants to move more, but because that elastic is there, it doesn't really allow it to air it out. I would like this to open up like down here or something so you can really do that. That's a nitpick though. Really, this glove smells awful. I wasn't the first person to use it. A bunch of other people used it and it smells terrible, but I did try to air it out. I did spray some of my stuff in it to try to get it to smell a bit better, and it really just doesn't. But airing it out is tougher on this just because of this, and I found it would just always close on itself. Huge nitpick for back here, but one of the, I think, pieces where I think this could be a bit better. And when we open this up, we see some of the best changes CCM has done to get rid of the 581, and that is get rid of the lack of finger stalls. So you can see finger stalls in there again, 1, 2, and this is the pinky loop, which I love. Now, I get the idea of what they wanted to do. I don't have a problem with finger stalls. Some people don't like them. I put them in my Brian's gloves when they didn't have them, and I think they just hold your fingers in place. If you don't like them, that's fine. But the way they went, where you had to mold the glove and it would mold in, I never found it really worked as well as what these did. Especially, I want that pinky loop and I want to be able to adjust it to hold my pinky in place. This fixes all of that and goes back to a more traditional design there. Now, this cross form strap here is also a great design, very plush, but it is warm. It does have attachment points down here and here, so you can really adjust where that is. And also great use of speed skin on here as well. Like I said, great to adjust. You can just pull this tight and it really does really lock in your wrist there. I don't even need this that tight, to be totally honest. And you do have that adjustability to really lock it in and really dial in how you want this to fit across your wrist. Even though I do really like this, it is warm. So you can see how, hopefully this is just getting in the way though, the thick padding is on here. Now this is very comfortable for the straps. You can't feel like pressure points and anything annoying with the straps with this, but it does just run hot. Maybe I mentioned this on the blocker, if they use that carbon stuff, that would be overkill for this, but this just does run hot. And this whole glove I found ran a bit hot, and a lot of this plush material doesn't totally help with that. It also has this hex design down here, which is a bit grippier like this, and it is very soft to touch. It's almost fuzzy. It is also super comfortable, but I found it runs warm. And I also found when this gets wet, it does not grip very well. This material, I like it for the comfort and stuff, but I wish this was just a gray Nash or extended out with that Sure Grip that's in there. My back-to-back, I did feel hot in this, but the Sure Grip did a decent enough job, which you can see in here, to actually grip. Now, this Sure Grip though isn't one of the better Sure Grip materials that I've used in the past. I've talked about this over and over again. Depending on what the texture is and how tall those little bumps are, Sure Grip is either super grippy or just mediocre grippy. Now, this is a different type of Sure Grip, and you can see the difference in these actual texture pieces. So you can see the size difference between these, and you can see how much more that these squares are like bigger and they feel deeper. So this has more grip to it than what this one does. This one feels smooth, it feels soft. The material itself is grippy enough, so this wasn't bad, it just wasn't the best. Overall though, with the strapping setup, it was totally fine in terms of grippiness, and it wasn't the end of the world. So for the finger straps here, you have this one here, which is the pinky loop. So that is this piece right here. Really soft, comfortable, thick, I don't know if there's foam in there, but nice and padded, like spandex, like pinky loop. So that is adjusted with this for snugness and looseness. And then you have this backhand piece right here as well, with just this finger part, and they all attach together. This works very well. Again, pretty warm with this pinky loop, but totally fine. Extremely comfortable. Probably the most comfortable pinky loop I've used. Thumb loop is this little piece of Velcro right here. Tighten, loosen that. Same thing as a lot of companies are doing now. And I don't know if I can get a look at that, but same as a pinky loop, it is that piece right here, which is a very comfortable and padded spandex-like material. So overall, a lot of comfort in here. I think a little bit too much warmth, but totally fine and totally usable and not a big deal. Overall, the strapping on everything on here works really well though, and this works excellent for that. This does say D3O in it, and it is a game ready. And one thing that I can't feel at all in this, which is pretty impressive, is the corner pieces of this. So when you go like this with some gloves, you can feel these edges of the palm or the thumb when you close it and it kind of digs in. CCM has this padded enough on the inside on here where I can't even feel that really at all. Yes, you know there's edges, but you can't feel the plastics or anything digging into it. I can feel the plastic right here. I can touch that hard, and it really can't feel on the other side. So the other side is so padded that it does a really good job on that. And this is a game ready. Felt that all the time in Vaughn's and my Bauer gloves. This is solid for that. Very, very good. And when I try to open this and kind of open this like this, you can kind of see just the padding on this side of the thing, and it's excellent. You can't really feel those seams. It is unbelievably solid. This is very impressive. And it also goes in the fingers as well, where it has nice plushness behind the fingers. So when you squeeze and everything, it feels really good overall. I am so impressed with this palm. And I guess I will get to that right now in terms of protection, because we kind of talked about that right there. And you want to support the channel, and you need a base layer and a protective, kind of supportive base layer that helps protect your groin as well as your hips. Check out the Cortec. This is the Pro 1.0 pant, so this one is not quite as restrictive, and this is kind of tight right here in this X pattern. You might have seen these as Under Armour before, or Bauer for the hockey specific ones. There's also the Core 3.0, which is a lot stiffer, as you can see. Really helps protect my groin and keeping it kind of in place and make sure it doesn't overstretch itself. There's a discount code, and you click the link in the description. use that discount code to get a discount off, help support myself, as well as get you some pretty awesome base layer pants that really do help with injury prevention and help stabilize your core while playing. This is probably the best game ready glove I've ever used for protection, and that is saying a lot. Maybe Warrior, because Warrior is weird and they don't really have a pro palm anymore. This as a game ready has been fantastic. The Warrior one's probably pretty close, but it's a totally different glove design and totally different. This is a more traditional style of glove. Playing on here, I have felt a few shots. Nothing crazy, nothing like, ooh, I'm wearing a game ready. Way better than 581. The 581 was awful. Supposedly that was a pro palm and it was one of the worst gloves I wore. This is fantastic. I don't know how CCM has made this feel like this with the padding that's in here and also a game ready. It is really, really, really good. Yes, some of my pro palm gloves are more padded than this, and I can feel it when you get a palm shot like here or here. And I did the puck machine test with this, which I'm going to show right now. One more. One more. One more. Pretty good. But overall, this thing was so impressive. I am so surprised at how good this is. Even when I was playing against the really good teams in my one league, I wasn't like, oh, if this guy hits me there, it's gonna kill, which I do 100% think of sometimes when wearing gloves like that PGS glove, and the 581 of this was totally a thought of. This, not at all. And that is a huge testament to how good whatever they did in this palm was really works, and you can really feel on the back of it with how you can't feel any of the parts in there. Now, also speaking of, we get to like the catching part of it, the T you can see offset down here, so not right in the middle, just like there, which you expect on a 580. Nice thick single T. Interestingly enough, this is no longer, at least it doesn't look it, symmetrical. So a lot of the times that would be like more symmetrical in the middle of there, and this seems like it is slightly different. So you can see how it's kind of closing over here, and it just feels like this T is purposely bunching up like this, and it just works really well for closure. You can see how that works like that versus a design like this, which doesn't really close like that. You can see how it doesn't like clamp itself and stay the shape, where this one you can see kind of like right here really folds over itself, which is very interesting, versus this one, which doesn't. It kind of folds, like just keeps its overall shape, folds on the outside. This one folds on the inside. So you can see how that works. This works really well for it. Now, I don't think you totally get that crazy closure that you totally expect for this, but it's fine and it works. Now, like I mentioned, a lot of them have more of that weird shape to it. This one works really well, and where this is a corner and this side is straight, whereas before it was just more of a straight type design. So that is where they really feel like they changed up this T a bunch on this to make this different and allow this to kind of close in a different way. And it's changes, I think, for the better. Now, I also had zero issues with this pocket kind of closing like this at all. It was totally fine. I've really enjoyed using it too. I really like the single T. Pucks that hit this and snap feel awesome. When I was trying to do the puck machine test on this, I kept missing the palm and hitting here, and that snap it makes feels awesome. So I really prefer that single T, but this closure of the T worked really well, and it doesn't really feel like it has that aggressive shape to it. It feels a much more neutral compared to other 580s in the past. Now for catching performance on this, this is obviously personal preference for everyone, and it's one of the things I really hate about online social media is that this depends on your preferences on gloves. This is not my best catching glove. That's always going to be the case. I prefer 600 breaks. They're more natural to me. Pocket position's more natural to me. Everything just feels better for me. I caught really well in this though. Big reason is how easy it is to close. It is super simple to close. Also, I do think there is some changes that have been made to this overall shape on here that really helped direct things into the pocket off the thumb as well. This is fine and it works. If you like a 580, it's probably going to be great. It's just not my preference. I still catch better with my true 600s than I do with this. But again, total personal preference, and whatever you like more is going to work more on that. This was totally fine. Excellent to catch that single T. It really thudded things in there. This was a glove though that I rarely fumbled with catching with it, which is surprising. I could do cross hands really easy with it. I did a lot of body blocks like this and caught with it fine. So everything was pretty solid with it. My one thing that I still struggle a bit is the whole body blocks where it's on the side like this and you're screened and you just hope it hits in there. The pocket just doesn't line up where I like pucks to go. And I found it was a lot harder for it to automatically catch in that sense versus the 600, which I think is excellent for that. So I actually had a teammate tell me that they hate this glove because when they see me freeze the puck like this, they see the tee off the ice so much. Now with that, yes, it does this. It's a 580. That happens on like all 580s basically, but I haven't yet had a time where that has actually slid out. I can do it here, and if you really try to do it, you can do it. But when I've been trying to cover, it has been pretty fine. Really, how you have to do that is you have to really put kind of right in the middle and really not lean on your palms. When you lean on your palms, it does this. Go right in the middle and it's fine like this. Now, right in the middle will leave out palm. So if you go like that, or it just gets out like this. I haven't had this issue when playing, but it is a normal 580 issue, and I call it out all the time. It's just how that tee and the fingers are so much longer like that. You can see how the fingers touch way before the tee does, and obviously this, but I haven't noticed it. And when I've been playing, it's been holding in there good enough. It's obviously not as good as like a 600 and stuff, but it's been fine. It is 580 things though. You should be used to that by now. Now, when I look at this glove like this, you can see how that tee is not flat, which is interesting because when you look at gloves like this, you can see that tee is totally flat, and yet you look at this one and it's not. It looks like it comes down to a point. I don't know if that was on purpose, and if that was on purpose to take up more spot on the ice, because if it was just flat all the way across, it would be like up here, and it wouldn't have, you can see like right there, it would kind of come up higher. It worked, and I didn't have things squeak out of this. Now, one thing as well, because of this tee, holding a stick and shooting with this was totally fine and very easy to do. Also helps that this is a very broken in feeling glove, so that helps a lot with that because you can squeeze the glove with this, but the tee isn't getting in the way, so it is helping a lot with that as well. Overall, this is the most improved piece of gear I have ever reviewed in the hockey world, I'm pretty sure. Well, it's not directly the next line because the 581's gone and it's a 580. This is the stock line. So this is the line that most stores are going to get, is this 580, where the 581 was the stock EFlex line people would be getting. This is so much better in every single direction in a way. I absolutely love this glove. I can't believe how much better this is than before. I have been critical of CCM in the past, and I will continue to be critical of every company when they make gear or make decisions that I think are poor and end up giving a bad product or hurting consumers. This is an excellent glove and fixes all the issues I had with the 581. I don't have problems with companies trying to innovate and trying to do new things. CCM has done that kind of with the 581, 591, but they've done it more in their player gear, and their player gear, it just seems like it's a better execution, where when I looked at like that 581 and 591, I never heard a single positive thing from any store that I've ever talked. And I've heard from a bunch of people who went to events and were like, we saw this glove and we looked at them and they're like, what are you doing? I tried that glove, I wore it, and I was like, what are you doing? This fixes all of that. Yes, it is a more traditional style, but it works. And you don't need to change something crazy if it's not better in a bunch of ways or all the ways. And that one was an improvement. This is an improvement. This is fantastic. Even that this is a demo set, I absolutely love this glove, and I only like 580s, and this is really good for it. I would be totally happy to use it. If I was buying a custom set of these, or the next, like whatever the tack set is going to be called, would I get a 580 or 600? I'd probably get this 580. I don't know how good their 600 is anymore. They kind of dropped the whole 600 line, unfortunately for me, but I get why they did that with how much people are going to 590s and 580s all the time. This is a super popular glove, and the internet just raves about it all the time and pushes people to it. And I constantly see people talking about it and asking about it because I saw this and this and this. I get it. The market wants this in a 590-ish. I would probably stick with this just because I'm not sure what that other one is, even though it's not my preference. It's that good anyways. I don't really have a problem with saying I would just use this over their previous one. I had better experience using this glove than I did on my custom 600s from CCM. So I would probably just go down this route anyways, and it's solid and it's really good. I don't know of a 580 I would recommend more than this right now. Now, I haven't used a true 580 in a long time, and actually I don't think forever. So I'm trying to get one of those for the future to try, but for this, I'm so impressed with this glove. Previously, there wasn't really a big reason I thought to go into CCM versus True when they're there, and especially for their gloves. This totally changes that, and especially like that Bauer Vapor 90, I have a really hard time seeing why people wouldn't want to wear this versus that Vapor 90. This feels way better than that Vapor 90. My experience with Bauer gloves, especially how long they last and like the palms and stuff and how it kind of moves around, is poor. And this is way better than that. And the cuff is also better than what Bauer does for their cuffs. So all of that is huge, huge praise from me in this, and I can't believe how good this is. I want to say a huge thanks to CCM for sending me this demo set. It is nice to see when companies realize that they did make mistakes and then they change things completely and fix them. This is a perfect case of that. Now, I'm not going to say that my video had anything to do with that. I don't think a lot of companies listen to me. I know a lot of companies specifically don't like me because of feedback I give. A lot of people say I'm very biased towards certain companies, like CCM Goalie is one of them. I'm just giving my honest feedback. If I like something, I will say I like it. If I don't like it, I will say I don't like it. This was a demo set that I picked up off a CCM rep. Previous one was a demo set from a store that I picked up. So it's not like they sent me this for free and are paying me for this, or there's some relationship here that's different than the other one. It's just a much better glove and it's just great. CCM deserves a lot of credit for this. I want to reiterate that over and over again. That's about it. Thank you very much for watching this video. Huge thanks to CCM for letting me use this demo set to test it and to do a review on, make content on. Huge thanks to them. Hopefully we can do stuff in the future. Would love to check out the new tack set that's coming out. And if you end up making a purchase because of one of my videos, or if you see this, like, hey, I was worrying about this, saw this and end up buying your gear, please reach out to the company like CCM Goalie and CCM Hockey on Instagram, social media, stuff like that. Let them know that content from Hockey Reviews, myself, is helpful and you want to see more of it. So hopefully we can do stuff like this in the future as well. Thank you very much for watching this video. Subscribe to me on YouTube, follow me on Instagram and TikTok. Links are in the description. If you want to support the channel and you're buying hockey equipment anyways, you can check out the links in the description. If you're in Canada, to just hockey. If you're in the US, to pure hockey. Clicking those links and making a purchase gives me a kickback to help support the channel so I can keep buying more gear and doing more on ice reviews. Otherwise, if you want to support the channel without buying anything hockey specifically, you can check out the links in the description to Patreon and buy me a coffee. Anything through any of those links always comes back into my channel so I can keep making more content and doing more reviews. Thank you very much for watching and take it easy.
You're watching HockeyReviews.ca.